Hey, thank you so much again for being willing to tell a bit about your story and talk a bit about where you're at. Um, and I'll just bowl on in if that's okay.
Go for
Um,
it.
so Jeremy, you were last year you were studying with us. Obviously, there was a bit of a prequel to that study. What informed your decision? What was going through your mind before you came to Dev Academy, and what informed that decision to come?
Yeah, before I did have a bit of a career. Before I chose to come to Dev Academy, I was an analyst. I'd had a pretty nice career as a kind of insights analyst, and I had a little bit of exposure to coding, but not much. But I ended up working at a software company, and I could see the devs over on the other side of the room. I could see what they were doing, and I was really like jealous. I was really jealous of all the problem solving they were doing, and sort of early last year, the company, like a lot of software companies at the time, ran into some trouble, and I took a redundancy payout and thought, okay, now what am I going to do? And I thought this will be a really good opportunity to change it up and go and do something that I really am excited about doing rather than something that I was ticking along. Um, so I spent a bit of time thinking about how I might retrain, whether I could teach myself, and one of there are a few sort of similar boot camps on offer around the country, and I was very close to signing up to one up in Auckland. But I asked a few of my friends who are developers at places like Xero, um, about the one I was going to, and this other one, Dev Academy, that I hadn't heard much about. And they raved about it basically. They said, "Oh yeah, we got heaps of grads from there have joined up. I've been hired up here at Xero, and then another person at the company I was at was a Dev Academy grad, and that really gave me confidence that it was like a practical thing to do. I was very like, I'm doing this so I can get a job as a software dev as soon as possible, and I don't have time to go and do uni again. So that whole grads companies love Dev Academy grads thing is true, and that was one of the main reasons for me. I'll try not to ramble too much, Ron. That's a long enough answer, I think.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Thanks, Jeremy. And tell me about what you're working on. What have you been doing at TradeMe?
Yeah, I was really lucky to pick up this Trade Me Summer Tech role almost immediately after Dev Academy. My role title is front end developer intern. So I work on stuff you can see on the Trade Me website. There's a whole range of content that Trade Me has that's kind of behind the sort of marketplace and the properties. Things like blog posts and guides and content that's designed to drive traffic from sort of organic web searches. And my role was to kind of add features and fix bugs on that front end stuff, but also to build out templates which let the sort of marketing team, non-technical people, put content into the website and have it display, you know, well and make it fit for mobile and all that cool stuff. So there's a bunch of cool features that are on TradeMe now, which I deployed, which I'm really proud of. Yeah,
Awesome.
how's
Awesome.
that?
I think that's actually a feature of TradeMe, isn't it? They make sure that new folks get to go live with something, right?
Yeah, my first week I changed the color of a header on one of the pages. Like, whew, it got more complicated after that, but it was
I
pretty
thought
exciting.
I thought I noticed a change. That was
Oh
you.
yeah.
Awesome. Um, and how are you applying the skills that you learned at Dev Academy in your role?
What I was a bit nervous about when I kind of accepted the or even applied for the role was that the technology stack, so the software and the coding language that TradeMe uses, was different to the one that I'd learned at Dev Academy. Dev Academy we learned it's probably still the same. We learned mostly React stuff, which is a front end framework, and TradeMe uses Angular, which is a different front end framework, totally different as far as I knew. But what I did learn at Dev Academy was how to learn stuff, and a lot of the big picture concepts about how websites work and how front end frameworks work was really easy to cross over. And I found it super easy to learn Angular, a brand new technology, just because of all the how to learn skills, I guess, that I learned at Dev.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's really interesting, Jeremy, about you know, learning how to learn and that different tech. By far, the majority of our grads go into an environment that is different from our stack. But even those ones that mirror exactly our stack still say that, look, you just have to learn so much. And being able to learn and cross the divide of those sort of technology streams is incredibly important. Yeah, that's interesting. And I'm glad you brought that up. Um, Thinking back over your experience, obviously, you had a pretty cool time. You met some great people. What was your most memorable learning during boot camp?
One of the technical pieces of technical things I learned about was how APIs work. I'm not going to go into detail about how they work, but before I went to dev, I'd heard of APIs. I'd heard the team in my company talking about them, and I vaguely knew what they did, but they just seemed quite mysterious to me and quite, gosh, magic, kind of internet magic. And then when we had a week of the boot camp, of course, kind of focused on them. And then after I had all the kind of foundational stuff built up for over the first few weeks of boot camp, and then getting stuck into APIs in that week, that it all just sort of seemed, oh, this is actually kind of straightforward once you put all those pieces together. And once I'd learned about APIs, it just sort of unlocked my whole understanding of the internet and totally changed my, I guess, view of how it all fits together. And I felt like a golden god of development briefly until I realized how much more there is to learn. But it was really exciting to go, oh man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
that was a technical one.
yeah. Well.
Um,
And what about a non-technical one?
we the human skills element was like a big chunk of it and a really important part for me since I had a bit of technical background already. One of the things we learnt quite late on was we sort of worked on conflict management because conflicts happen all the time in teams, especially when the pressure's on. And in our final group project, I was kind of like the project leader, and I had a bit of a conflict with a couple of my teammates because they were rightly, I guess, letting me know that I was probably being a bit too micromanaging. And we used some of that conflict resolution stuff, had a little session by ourselves and kind of stepped through everything, talked it out, and ended up all feeling way better about the situation. And it just went so well, just exactly how we kind of talked about it when we learned about conflict resolution. I was like, man, I feel great, even though I'm the bad guy here. And it was really cool. And everyone got
Mm.
to talk about it. And it was great. It was
No,
great.
that's wonderful. And that's how it should be, right? Like,
Hmm.
you know, when there's a conflict, no one should be walking away hurt. People should be walking away empowered. So that's fantastic.
There
What
was
a
a
great
big
story.
focus on feedback and receiving feedback as well as giving feedback. And that was a great way for me to receive feedback, and it felt good.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Oh, that's great. Again, looking back, what was your biggest surprise about the boot camp experience? Obviously, you've done a lot of research and you'd looked into this, you'd looked into other programs as well. But you would have had expectations at the start. What was something that really surprised you about the boot camp experience?
I'd heard a lot about how intense the boot camp experience was. So I was kind of mentally prepared for it to consume my life, and it did. So I wasn't surprised so much by the intensity. I was ready for it. It was very intense. But something I didn't expect was how much I'd enjoy the group projects that are kind of dotted throughout the course. I'm just like a really proudly independent, I'll figure it out myself kind of guy. And I was a bit worried that I'd either be, I don't know, either falling behind my really smart teammates or maybe getting held back by my inexperienced teammates or something. I was going to get a bit grumpy about it, but I really enjoyed the group projects. Um, when someone knows more than you can learn from them. And when you're a bit ahead of someone else, you can teach them. And either way, you learn heaps. And I just got a real kick out of doing that.
Yeah,
It was really cool.
Oh, wonderful. We actually have an employer, Jeremy, who says whenever I'm hiring Dev Academy graduates, I know that I've got a teacher as well as a student coming on board, and that speaks to it. It's actually really hard to be both. It's really hard to be a mentor, and it's really hard to be a student. But if you've got the self awareness and the skills, it makes everyone around you feel like it's easy. Um, but yeah,
Mhm.
cool. That's a cool story. Um, and knowing what you know now, um, after completing the boot camp, if you were to go back in time and give yourself some advice, what would you say?
One of the I knew about myself that I need some downtime. I know this is going to be super intense, but I'm going to need some downtime. And to do that, I need to stay on top of things. So my number one tip would be to just try to stay on top of, the content. Like there's a lot. It's like a fire hose. A lot comes at you real quick, and each week kind of builds on the last week. So if you sort of, I was pretty lucky. I managed to keep kind of just ahead of the content. Like I'd get my assessments kind of ready and spend evenings making sure I understood the stuff from the day, and it meant that next week I was ready to absorb that chunk of information. Um, I can imagine, and I saw a couple of cohort friends. If it started to snowball a bit, it gets really stressful. So I managed to keep ahead, and that was a really really valuable. I mean, I could have Sundays where I could just relax, and that was crucial for my kind of well being. So that's tip number one, which is just try and keep ahead. And the best way to do that is tip number two, which is ask for help early and often. I'm not much of an ask for helper. As I said, I'm real stubborn about doing stuff myself. But one of my big personal goals for the boot camp was to get better at asking for help. I know it's something I need to get better at. And I think I reached out earlier than I normally would, and every time I did, it was great. Like I usually it'll be David coming in to help me, and every single time I just felt, why didn't I do this even earlier? And it unblocks you really quick, and you end up learning faster and staying ahead. And yeah, ask for help early. That's tip number two. Goes hand in hand with tip number one.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Great advice, Jeremy. Well, you're a software developer now, and a year ago you weren't. How do you feel? I mean, if we're talking to folks that don't know whether they should make the career transition or become a software developer, what would you say to them?
I'm really I've still got I'm still a junior, and I still don't know what the future holds for me because my train me thing is fixed term and that's wrapping up very soon. So I don't know what I'm going to be doing soon, but I know I've made the right call. I know I'm in the, I guess, space that I want to be in, and all the problem solving that I do every day is exactly kind of what I signed up for. And the job experience at Trade Me has been so similar to how the Dev Academy system worked that it just felt like a natural step on. So um, I reckon if you feel like you like problem solving and you like the idea of using code to do something automatically instead of grinding away yourself, then it's an awesome field to be in.
Wonderful. Oh, well, thank you so much, Jeremy, for sharing those stories and answering my questions.